here we are doing a little bit of furnace work. Let me adjust my lighting. Alright, so I've got a furnace right here, and I was getting the warning lights that said the left light was off and the right light was a slow flash. It said pressure switch was open, or that the pressure switch was closed, and that can be caused by condensation in any of the lines. So I figured out how to do it. Now, here's a little disclaimer. I am no way a furnace expert. I'm just a normal homeowner who did some research and figured out how to fix the issue. So right here we've got the pressure switch. This part right there is the pressure switch, and you've got the line, exhaust line going in, and exhaust line going out. Those could be reversed, I don't know which is which, but you've got basically air going in and air coming out of the pressure switch. So when the motor begins to spin right here, then you've got air that is going into the pressure switch, and the air, as the air blows into the pressure switch, it opens a valve inside of the pressure switch to allow the air to go in, and then that then feeds to all of the other parts of the furnace, and it operates correctly. But if your pressure switch is having an issue, then it could be because that valve is not opening and closing to let air in to the pressure switch to then let the air flow back out of the pressure switch into all the other necessary areas. Or, so that could be an issue where your pressure switch does not open. So it could also have an issue with the pressure switch not closing after your furnace is done running through a cycle of heating. So either way, if the pressure switch is not opening or closing properly, there is a simple fix for that. And again, I'm not a furnace professional, but I've done research and it worked. So the thing that I did to fix this was I looked at all of the lines to see if any of them were blocked. So again, all of these hoses should be basically only carrying air throughout them, okay? So all these little green hoses or yellow hoses should only be carrying air throughout them. So I did look, and I found this hose right here had buildup of maybe some grease or something that comes from just the furnace running and running and running and running over time. So I did unplug the hose from that area, and I unplugged it from this area, and just unplugged them, blew them out, blew air through them to clear the little liquid that was blocking it. And it wasn't water or anything, it looked like it was like some sort of grease. So it is probably just something that builds up in the furnace over time, or in the hoses over time. So I just blew that liquid out, and then reconnected the hoses to that area and to that area. And then I just started my furnace, put the doors, put the panels back on, and hit the turn the electricity back on. Again, before you do any of this, you want to turn the electricity off to the furnace before you get to messing with anything in there. So once I was done clearing out that hose, I turned the electricity back on, put the front panel back on, because there's a little switch that needs to be pressed in, and this panel, when the panel is on, that presses that switch in, and then gives electricity to the furnace. And then I turned my thermostat back on, and air seems to be flowing properly through all of the hoses. My pressure switch is opening and closing, and everything has been ignited, and we've got hot air. Another important point that I forgot to mention when I disconnected those hoses and I blew the liquid out, you can also find out what I'm talking about as far as the little lever that's inside of the pressure switch that opens and closes when air is going in through the pressure switch and back out. The valve opens and closes. So it opens to let air pass through, and it closes once the furnace is done heating for that cycle. So I also disconnected the hose right here from this area, and as you can see, it goes straight into the pressure switch. I just grabbed any hose that was long enough for me to be able to do what I'm going to explain that I did. So I grabbed this one. It's a pretty long hose, so I grabbed it, I took it off right there, and I blew gently, very gently, because pressure switches allow for a certain pressure of air to flow through it. You don't want it to be too strong a pressure of air blowing through the pressure switch. It can damage something. And if the air is not strong enough pressure going in to the pressure switch, then it won't be strong enough to open the valve, because the valve opens and closes depending on how strong the air is that's flowing through the pressure switch. So I just unplugged that valve and I gently blew in that hose, and while blowing gently, you can hear the little valve click open. And then after I heard it click open, then I sucked air gently through that hose. I sucked air gently through the hose, and you can hear the valve click closed again, or vice versa. I'm not sure if it's opening or closing, but you blow air and you hear it click, and then you suck the air out of the hose and you hear it click again. So that lets you know that the valve is functioning properly, opening and closing. Don't blow too hard, because you definitely can damage that valve, and then you'll probably have to replace your whole pressure switch. And sometimes those valves can just get stuck over time. They can either get stuck open or they can get stuck closed. So it probably is important to blow through that hose just to make sure that the valve is opening and closing properly and not getting stuck. So don't forget to blow on the hose to make sure you hear a click, and gently suck on the hose to make sure that you hear a click also, and very, very gently. Otherwise you can damage your pressure switch. So then after that was done, I connected that hose, I blew this line out, reconnected it, turned my power on right there, put my panel back on the front, and everything is working properly. There you go. Thank you for tuning in. This was a relatively short video, but very important, because a lot of people do have furnace issues in the winter time, so you want to definitely make sure that any issue that you're having, you're able to take care of it quickly so you can have that nice warm air again in your house. So thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video or if it was helpful to you, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and thanks for watching the video. Take care.